I was going to clap my hands to sync up the audio. Then I remembered I actually have a clapboard. It's been sitting on my shelf. I haven't done that in years. Anyway, here we are on hopefully the last video that I'll make for a while about my audio setup in my office. I'm all set up in the new space, and I went through a couple different iterations here even before I got where I am now. So here we go. If you've seen any of my other videos, not that I'm a YouTuber and people are out there watching my videos and waiting for them to come out or anything, but if you happen to have seen them, or if you go look at them after watching this, you'll notice that I have an RE20 in the frame on all the videos, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Anything where I'm like talking about audio or something, I've got an RE20 in my face. And in this video, you can see that I don't have that. But I think I still sound pretty good. And this is what I sound like on Zoom meetings now for work. I just like to sound good. No one told me I had to do this. It's kind of become a weird hobby that no one cares about, but it's kind of fun for me. I used to be a live sound guy. I dabbled in recording. I never really got down that very far down that path, which is probably a good thing. I don't know if that would have been a viable career path for me, since the way the market is, and even back then when I was starting to get into it, there weren't too many job openings in the studio world. Anyway, I got tired of people commenting on the RE20. To be totally honest, like that's why it's not in the frame right now. I'm also kind of sick. Keep that in mind if my voice sounds kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, the RE20, and now I'm talking on this microphone that I'll reveal soon. I started out trying a shotgun mic. I'm going like, what can I use? Should I get a small diaphragm? Should I get a shotgun? And I got a shotgun. I got a Synco Mic D2, which is a good shotgun. I was pretty happy with it. I bought it after watching a Booth Junkie video where he puts it up against the Sennheiser 416. And you can tell the difference. You know, you can, if you have good speakers or good headphones, you can totally tell which is which. But if you're not paying attention, it's not that easy. Or if you just have laptop speakers, it's not as easy, but you can tell. But I think it was good enough. The Synco was good enough that it's pretty possible. So I had it pointed at my mouth out of frame on like a little articulating arm clamp, so I could fold it so I could tip it up and away, so it's like not like in my face when I'm like just using my computer. So I would tip it up. It was like kind of off to the left side of my computer, in between my monitor and my laptop. That'll make sense in a second when I show what I'm talking into right now. So I had that, but I wasn't super happy with how that sounded. It was, this room is horrible, and shotgun mics, depending on the room, might not sound very good indoors. And this one I don't think did. It was very good. It was really natural sounding, I think, but it did pick up quite a bit of the room. And this one I think is picking up a bit less of the room. So yeah, I'm like, should I get SDC? Should I get a shotgun? And I'm like, well, if I get the small diaphragm condenser, it's going to be a bit further away. My mind was just not thinking at the time. So I had it mounted, it would be mounted kind of far away. It would end up being like 2 feet or more from my mouth if I got a small diaphragm and sat it where I was going to sit it. But I also ordered a while back an 18-inch gooseneck for a microphone. And I had kind of forgotten about it. And then I'm not happy with the sound on the shotgun. So I bought some extensions, and I bought a Lewitt LCT match 040. And I'm like, okay, I'll put these extensions, these 5/8 thread extensions on the mic clip and put it on that arm so I can fold it, tip it back like I did with the, to get it closer to my mouth and be able to tip it back like I did with the shotgun. I needed that length, right? I needed to get it closer to my mouth. But I just forgot that I had this gooseneck. So now I've got it. It's like a podium or a lectern. Sorry. It's like a lectern setup. And I don't think you could do this with a large diaphragm condenser. And this mic is so light. It's like this little thing that's like just aluminum, and it sounds really good enough for the price that I paid for it. And I can get it right in front of my face like this, and I can fold it or move it up and out of the way when I'm not using it. So this is like ideal. This is it. I think this is my end game for a while. And it's not annoying at all. It's like right here. I can still see my keyboard if I need to use my trackpad, which I don't really. I use a keyboard down here. My mouse is down here too, obviously. So but like it doesn't get in the way of my field of vision at all. And if I had a condenser right here, it would be kind of weird. For one thing, it wouldn't work on this gooseneck thing because it would just droop. It wouldn't hold it at all. But yeah, the gooseneck is clipped to my laptop arm back here, down under there. It's hard to see with my iPod in the way. But yeah, I've got a little C-clamp in there with a 1/4 inch like tripod mount thread, and then there's an adapter to the 5/8 thread for the mic stand, mic clip, whatever, and then that goes into that, and I can just fold it up and out of the way. Obviously, there's going to be some handling noise if I do that. So that's it. This is what I'm doing. Oh, it's in frame. So I think this is like the best situation for me. So if I was further away, that would be another story. But this is the ideal, I think. And I like how it sounds. This is what we're doing. So let's do a quick tour of the space over here real quick to show what's going on. And I'll probably pull the RE20 out in a bit to talk about what's going on in my interface. Anyway, let's go look at the racks. All right, starting over here on the left side, we've got this first rack. I've got two of these 2U racks that I made out of, I'm actually going to switch over to the RE20 and move this out of the way. Or actually, no, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is move the Lewitt. Oh boy, listen to that, huh? Isn't that great? Nice handling noise. So I'm moving the Lewitt, so and it's going to be in the frame, whatever. So just so it's more aimed at my face while I'm pointing over here to this stuff. All right. Anyway, so I built two of these racks. I just didn't want to pay $120 for one rack per, So I put these together from the nicer plywood that you can get at Home Depot. It's 1/2 inch. I wanted nicer plywood, but I couldn't find it. And then I'm glad I didn't, because I made some mistakes on this and learned from that. But they look decent. They're serviceable. They do their job. I like the raw plywood look. I never intended to paint them or anything, or stain them or whatever, or seal them. So here we go. They were cheap to build. It was $30 for one sheet, and I was able to get all the cuts I needed for two of these things out of one 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of plywood. And then I bought the rack rails. $10 for the pair. I had to get some hardware, like the bolts that hold it to the side. I don't know if you can see them. And then random stuff, to get it all set. Got a power conditioner, which is kind of funny. I got the one that has the meters on it just because I like lights and stuff that are like blinking and showing in my racks. I'll never probably pull more than 1.4 amps on this one, and that's only when I'm like having my speakers bumping. I have a subwoofer too. So that's just, I don't know. I wanted a decent power conditioner. I think it makes a difference, but I also have better cable runs now too. Before I was noticing like some hisses and buzzes and things here and there, because everything was a sloppy rat's nest, and now it's all under the table and routed pretty cleanly. So I don't have as much of that going on. So anyway, as you can see, the levels jumping here on the Joe Meek 3Q unit. This is the first preamp I got way back a year or so ago, and it's been really good. I'm running the Lewitt into that because I like the sound of the EQ on it. and I'm not ever going to use the compressor. But yeah, it's a good sounding preamp. The EQ is great. It's really nice. They got it right as far as where things are and like the width of everything, because you can't like change the bandwidth. You can change the mid is a sweep, so you can change the frequency and all that, but you can't change how wide it is. So this is a blank panel from Middle Atlantic that I put a hole in and put a female XLR port into. And all of this is sitting on a shelf. So the Joe Meek has a little screw in the bottom of it where you can like put it up in there and attach it to the shelf so it doesn't move around. And then I took this half rack blank, and cut a little bit of it. I modded it a touch so I could do a bend right here on the side so it would be clean. So it's not like just chopped off. It's a bend to make it look a bit nicer. And that's like sitting on top of the ears of the shelf. And I have two little screws in here that are through the shelf and through the blank to hold that on so it doesn't like push in when I connect it and disconnect it. But so since there's an XLR port right here, or connection, I don't know what you call it, jack, right in the front. So, but the Lewitt is running into this. How am I doing that? It's just paralleled. I've got another female back there, and that's what the mic is plugged into. I just put this in the front for convenience. If I ever want to run a different mic into it, I can do that pretty easily without having to reach back into the rack. But most of the time it's going to be this mic going into it. So I didn't want that, of course, being in the front. So it's routed to the back. And then it's, yeah, like I said, it's paralleled at this point. And then it just jumps back into the input of this. So that's this side of the rack. And moving over here, we can see everything else. I still have the Symetrix 528E, and that's what the RE20 is going into. And then I've got my new interface, which is the Mo2 Ultralight Mark IV. And right off to the side, you see a little Rane unit right here. This is a little commercial, kind of utility box right there. All it is a preamp. It's just got a, well, this is a funny story. I don't know if I should go into it. I'll try to do it real quick. So the preamp stage on the 528E was a bit noisy to me. So I had to have it like cranked, and I had to have the output cranked as well for there to be enough gain on the RE20. And I'm like, this is too noisy. So I was doing some research. I was like almost gonna buy an Earthworks or a Grace M101, which would have been a little stupid because those are way too much money for what I do. Then I came across on like Gearspace some people talking about this little thing where it's just one chip and a pot, and like that's all it is. You get mic in, line out. So not much to it. So I figured to give it a try. It was pretty cheap. And I got down a rabbit hole of integrated circuits that are inside like of the preamp that actually amplify the signal. And I found out that there are different versions of this. This is like one of the ones in the middle. It isn't the oldest one, but it's not the new one. Or I don't think they even make them anymore, but or the newest one, I guess. So this one's a MS-1B, I think. Yeah, I mean, it says MS-1 on it, but I think it's like the B version. And anyway, there's different chips floating around that are inside of these things, and some of them had a Burr Brown in it, and some of them had like an INA. I don't even know, but some of them had Burr Brown chips in it, which is like the same as what's in the Grace M101. So I'm like, okay, this should sound cool. But I get it in, and out of curiosity, I opened it up because I didn't know like what was in it, and it's an Analog Devices like SSM 2017. I think that's what it is. It's the 2017 chip, and like nobody likes it. I don't know what people don't like about it, but it happens to be the same chip as in the Symetrix. So I get this preamp to replace the preamp stage in the Symetrix, but it uses the same chip. So I'm like, that's crazy. How ironic is that? So I actually ordered a Burr Brown chip, and I stuck it in there. It's super easy to do. It's just in a socket and you put it, so it's like not, and they're cheap, so it's not like I'm doing a bunch of work. It took me like 10 minutes, 5 minutes to do it. And I didn't notice any difference, maybe a little bit, but it's got a Burr Brown chip in it. I also ordered a THAT 1015, I think it is. I don't remember, but it just shipped from Newark. Mouser there didn't have it. I couldn't even order it. They were on back order. I ordered it back in November, and it finally shipped. So we're gonna see how that one sounds. But yeah, anyway, that's what I'm going into here. Right here, though, it's worth pointing out that the Motu is a half rack unit, and typically you would have to sister it up with another one. You'd have another Motu half rack unit here, and they have a bracket that joins the two together, like a little plate that goes in between. You wouldn't ever have a situation like you see here where there's rack ears on both sides, unless you actually have a half rack. You can't do this. So this here is sitting on a half rack shelf that I drilled some holes into, put some little nuts and screws through to hold the Rane in place so it doesn't move. And then it has this rack ear over here, just like it is. So this is a shelf, and I had to do a little custom fab work here on the side of this shelf. I cut it and bent it a little bit, and I stuck a 1U rack rail in there on the other side of this to hold this on there. So that's how that's all staying together. I'm kind of proud of it. And then here you can see my subwoofer amplifier. That's a whole other story. I'm not going to even talk about it. But I'm going to share my screen and go over my the interface and how I'm using it. And I'm going to switch over to the RE20 for this. All right, so I'm still on the Lewitt. Nope. There we go. Now I'm sharing. And you can see my RE20 is coming out. I got a big muff on it. Anyway, here is the Motu Ultralights interface in a browser. It's the coolest thing. You can bring this up on your iPhone or an iPad as long as they're on the same network that the computer is on. So it's just like a console, like a live board or a studio board. So I've got everything going to a group. I'm gonna just put the RE20 on. I will mute the 040 and unmute the RE20 in my record feed. Here we go. So I'm actually pretty happy with the sound that I'm getting out of the RE20 now. I think it's pretty dialed in, and it's going to sound, of course, vastly different and maybe not as good actually. Not as good as the Lewitt. I don't know. It's subjective, and when you listen to this one for a while, it sounds fine. But I'm still going to use this for narrating videos and stuff for work, and yeah. So most of the processing all of the processing for the RE20 is being done in the Symetrix 528E, just because I like how that sounds. And for the 040, except for a high pass, there just isn't a high pass. High passing the 040 as well, the Lewitt. The Lewitt has a gate, and I think the gate on this is super smooth. And then I'm cutting a tiny bit of the highs right there. This is there was a bit of a hiss there, like a little bit of noise in the room. So I just dipped that just a touch to be a little bit more surgical, since I'm using the Joe Meek preamp for the EQ on that. And then the Joe Meek, I don't like the compressor on it, and this compressor is fine, so I'm using it. I'm using the DSP for the compression on the 040. And then, so both of those microphones are going to two different groups. They go to my live group and my monitor feed group. So I'm listening to the monitor feed, and you can see I have my iPod that's connected, and then I have the computer audio. Those are also going to the monitor feed, and that feeds my my ears right here. And then the live feed is what you're hearing right now. So this is going to feed Zoom or whatever software I'm using, and this is what I sound like. That I don't do anything in post. I just record and that's it. Ship it. I don't have time to sit there and do anything in post and edit and all that, because I'm just doing these ad hoc little tutorial videos, and sending them out to clients when they need help with a visual, to do something. So I've just got a leveler, the leveling amplifier on it. It's supposed to be based on an LA2A. I think it's fine. It just gets it up there without peaking, gets that level up. And that's it. The only things that are feeding the mains, so I've got my main outs going to my monitors on my desk, and the only thing feeding that is going to be the iPod and the computer. Obviously, you don't want your microphones going right back out of your monitors. So that's what I'm doing. And you can route like anything wherever you want. So here's the matrix of how everything is routed. I'm not doing anything crazy. Monitor left, right goes to monitor left, right. Main left, right is main left, right. And I'm also sending it to analog outs 1 and 2 to feed my subwoofer off that same main feed. And then I've got 2 computer 1 and 2. This is going to be for like the default, like if there's some software that doesn't support different channels, it just uses whatever 1 and 2 is for the inputs, like Vimeo record in the browser or Loom or whatever. That's the process signal going to that. So 2 computer 1 and 2 are getting that live left right feed, live 1 and 2, that group. And then I've just got, I don't know, I was doing some other things. I've got the front input of the Mo 2 patched to computer input 4. The RE20 by itself is going to 3. And here's the iPod. They're coming in. And then I have my Zoom feed, which is the exact same thing as this group. I don't know why I separated it out, but I did. So yeah, we have all that stuff going on, pretty standard. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm super happy with this setup. I think I sound okay. I'm, I've dialed it in. I haven't touched my settings in like a week, which is really good. So that means I usually mess with it incessantly. And when I get the situation where I haven't touched it, I know, oh, maybe it's fine now. Anyway, I'm gonna switch back to the Lewitt and sign off, I guess. All right, back on the Lewitt. What am I doing? I have the share dialog box open on Zoom, sorry. There we go. So we're back, and here, yeah, that was my my office setup. That's where we're at now. Loving the Genelec 8010s. I've got a subwoofer down there. It's actually a home theater subwoofer. It's a Velodyne. It's a little Velodyne Micro V with a 6.5-inch driver. It only goes down to 38 hertz, which is okay. It's pretty massive sounding when you're above 38, but when you get down there, you kind of miss those low sub frequencies. It's making me want a better sub, but I don't need it at all. It's just for listening to music. I'm not like mixing anything. I'm not making hit records in here. So the 8010s are really good. I know what I trust them. They're anything I've EQ'd is translated well everywhere I've played it. So that's why I haven't touched anything. I've got it dialed in with the help of the Genelecs. So yeah, there we are. So until next time.